Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies, and I really recommend that you use them. So take the next 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. We want to say thanks to our friends at Huddle for their support. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our kids loved the videos and our parents loved the streaming, but there's so much more. Join the 8 million users. Go to huddle.com. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Your students are on social media, and if they're not seeing content from you promoting the teams and celebrating their accomplishments, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. They'll have you creating world-class content in seconds, and it's so easy, even I can do it. The website is Gipper.com. Check it out today. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to tell your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check it out today. We want to say thank you to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, results, rosters, communication. How about athletic eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus does all of these things and a lot more. And it's something that you're going to use every single day. Go to homecampus.com to get started. That's it, homecampus.com. We want to thank the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. This is an affordable 20-month, totally online program that also allows you to complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant AD did, and it was an incredible experience. Go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We'd like to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an AD was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Mention the podcast. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to thank our good friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? No more. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our schools with great success. I'm telling you, it works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing. Hometown is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. It's digital ticketing that offers more. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're meeting with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We are headed back to Ohio. I think that's closing in on our number two, might even be our number two state for the most ADs we've visited with. And we're going to be talking with Sierra Millar. Sierra is a registered athletic administrator, and she's the director of athletics at Mercy McAuley High School, and that's in Cincinnati. We connected a while back. We've had this scheduled for a long time, so I'm excited to get going. Sierra, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
All right, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, for listeners, we're recording this during the summer. School's about ready to start up again, but Sierra was gracious enough to spend some time with us. Sierra, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own college years, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Sierra Millar origin story?
I'm born and raised Cincinnati, Ohio. I grew up within a Catholic household. Went to St. Vivian Elementary School right in that Finneytown area. Ended up going to Finneytown High School, and then stayed local for college as well. But I kind of, from the get-go, was involved in sports, and it was our entire life between my dad, my mom, my all of my family members. I played volleyball and softball pretty much growing up, and kept it that way throughout college too. And it's kind of what led me to being here right now. Kept me in athletics, kept me interested in all of it. And yeah, I'm just kind of excited that my career has taken me back and brought me back home, where I get to raise my own family as well. In high school, I was a four-year varsity starter for both volleyball and softball. I also kept myself really busy and played club sports, travel ball, all of the fun stuff. So kept myself busy year round, and that kind of took me straight into college. I started my college career at Mount St. Joseph University, transferred out of there, and then ended up at Miami. But I ended up getting my bachelor's degree at the University of Cincinnati. So,
I want to go talk more about your college stuff later on, but let's go back. You mentioned you were a multi-sport athlete in high school.
mhm.
How about junior high and younger? You mentioned, and again, my wife's, big Catholic family. Was there
Right.
CYO activities? Were there neighborhood games going on? What was that? How did that
Yeah.
help kind of springboard you into your high school career?
So it's kind of really similar. I pretty much stayed in that volleyball softball track. Gosh, we're allowed to start sports here at third grade. Football is allowed to start younger than that. So I did a lot of the CYO. It's not called CYO anymore. It's actually the conference, or the league that we were a part of is actually called the GCCYS now. Um, Not necessarily CYO, but it was when I was growing up. And kind of just stuck through that track. I did track and field. I ran with the Girls on the Run program to keep myself fit and kind of stay into it and do something different, because it's important to be a multi-sport athlete and working different muscles in your body, especially when you're younger. So, but volleyball and softball were the two core sports that I stayed a part of.
All right, that's great to hear. And when you say Miami, I assume you mean Miami of Ohio, right? Okay.
Yes, Miami of Ohio. I was at their branch campus, so I was at their Hamilton campus.
Okay. Now, moving on to those college years, your undergraduate, coursework, experiences, et cetera.
Mhm.
Can you think of a moment that maybe at the time while you were an undergrad student, it didn't seem like much, but now looking back with perspective and experience, you can point to that and say, hey, that was a significant moment for me.
Um, oh goodness. I think in my undergraduate experience, I think that very first year going into the Mount, um, I went in committed as a volleyball player, and I was only going to do volleyball. And softball season started coming around. So fall ended, we started having a break period, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not ready to be them. So I walked into the head coach's office, introduced myself, said I'm willing to try out if you'll have me, type of thing. I did. I made it. I was a part of that team, and it was awesome. So I think that was a. I look back at that, and I'm like, that is a significant point in my life of being a two-sport athlete in college, and taking on the amount of credit hours I was taking in the degree program that I had, that I started in and then switched my major. But yeah, that was my significant experience of that I look back on a lot of. Okay, well, I did that. That's awesome because you don't see that very often.
Oh, no, no, that's great, great. So I'm sure the coach was happy to see, hey, we got a great player here coming in.
Exactly.
You mentioned you switched your major. I'm going to guess that that was to a sport management, or 100 years ago, that was PE and health, like me. What
Right.
was that new
So
major?
So not quite. So I had a really interesting college experience educationally. I went into school knowing what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an athletic trainer. Like that's what I wanted. But then I started coaching, and we'll talk more about that later. But I started coaching, and I was like, you know what? If I'm an athletic trainer, I'm on the sidelines at those games as an athletic trainer. I can't do both. So then I switched my major to education, after the first semester. So I did a whole semester of athletic training and then switched my major to education. I ended up graduating from UC with a degree in communications. And then I got my master's degree from West Virginia in sports administration because, long, long story short, I knew that this was where I wanted to be.
Well, you just became one of my all-time favorite interviews by saying you went the education route. As I already said 100 years ago, athletic administration, sport management, those weren't even on the board
Right,
as majors. You were a an education major if you wanted to coach.
right.
I'm going to teach math. I'm going to teach history. In my case, it was PE and L. So good for you. I'm glad you had that education major experience there, even if it
Yeah,
was only short lived. Okay.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're going to go and take a break. Once again, for our listeners, our guest today is Sierra Millar. She's the athletic director at Mercy McAuley High School in Cincinnati. We're going to hear some more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to say thanks to Huddle for their support of the podcast. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes love the videos, our parents love the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Your student athletes are on social media, and if they're not seeing content from you promoting the team, celebrating their accomplishments, you're really missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. Their team will have you creating world class content in seconds, and it's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com. Mention the podcast, they'll give you a nice discount. That's Gipper.com.
Hey Jake, we use Huddle too. Our basketball and volleyball teams use it and absolutely love it. So
Well, gosh, thanks for sharing that. And that's what I found out at our school. I was kind of concerned, would our other coaches use it? And they just loved it. Volleyball, basketball, soccer, everybody. We had the cameras in the gym, out on the fields, and I was just so happy as an AD that they loved it as much as I loved it as a football
yeah.
coach. And of course, our football coach used it too. So thanks for sharing that. Once again, for our listeners, our guest today is Sierra Millar. She's a registered athletic administrator. She's the athletic director at Mercy McAuley High School, and that's in Cincinnati, Ohio. Sierra, you kind of took our listeners through your, journey, through high school and college, multi-sport athlete. Um, Share with our listeners now your journey. What happened after college? Where did your path take you?
So after college, I kind of was all over the place. When I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I actually ended up moving out to Virginia. So I was out in Virginia for a couple of years. And there I was working at after school programs. I was still involved in coaching. And then we ended up moving again. So we, as in me and my husband, we ended up moving. He is a veteran, he's ex-military. And we moved to Illinois. And then Illinois is kind of where my career really um, kicked off, I would say. I started out teaching health and PE at St. Joseph Catholic Academy in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Where we were at the moment was when we moved to Illinois, we were right on that border of Illinois and Wisconsin. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. Going into, I could kind of pick either state, similar to Ohio. We're right next to Indiana, right next to Kentucky. But so I went up there and I spent a year up there. I got a lot of experience kind of working more so with the kids and in a classroom setting and working with sixth grade all the way up to seniors. I was a weightlifting teacher as well, so I taught a weightlifting class with the school, and it was a good experience. And there I kind of built a really great relationship with our athletic director there, and I would help him out in the winter with basketball games, both the girls and the boys, whether it was just needing an extra person on site, which was great. I also coached volleyball and middle school track and field with them. Um, and then after that, I decided, okay, now I can take the step further of actually sitting in an athletic office, um, doing the work, putting in my time. And that's when I actually started at Woodlands Academy of the Sacred Heart in Lake Forest, Illinois, that following year. And I kind of just kick-started it and really dove in deep and dove in pretty hard into the athletic world there. After a month of me being there, I was originally hired on as an assistant athletic director, health teacher, and I was a communications kind of service coordinator type of thing. And multiple titles, wore multiple hats, similar to what I do now, but wore multiple hats. And after a month of being there, they hired me as the interim athletic director. So then I was the one running the show. Stayed on and was a volleyball coach for them as well, and then also was the head softball coach for them. And that's kind of, I loved it there. It was great. We were a really small school. We had six sports, five sports. And I was able to really make and focus on the connections and the relationship aspect of it. And then moved again. Had a whirlwind of a year of both getting married, starting a new job, moving, and then also ended up pregnant this last year. And ended up having a baby in March. And so we went from Woodlands and then moved back to Ohio, got married, moved back to Ohio, and then I got the job here at Mercy McAuley, and all of the really exciting things started to kind of fall into place.
All right, we're going to hear about all things Mercy McAuley in another segment. Want to go back to, that moment. You were an assistant AD, wearing a dozen hats, which is not unusual for ADs. Then you became the AD. There's an expression, we use it in our profession a lot. I'm sure you've heard it, usually about coaches, but it also applies to ADs too. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
What was something that when you moved to that other side of the desk and now you're the athletic director, that for you, and we all go through it, but what was something that you found out that you didn't know?
Oh gosh. I think a lot of it was just so new at that moment. Because at that point when I was at St. Joseph Catholic Academy, I was still completing my master's. So I did my master's program all online through West Virginia, which was also a really great program. I was able to work full time, do all of my classes, and have it kind of an accelerated course. And get it all done and still be able to work and coach and keep a pretty busy lifestyle. Um, and so I was coming basically fresh out of that major, and full intention of being an assistant and working under somebody and learning. And I was I was confident enough to say, hey, I can do this. Let me do this. Like put put your marbles in the same bowl for me and let me do this. And I did, and it was great. But a lot of it was I was building everything. Um, and that was kind of my, okay, this is all new. This is the you don't know what you don't know. So it was a lot of research. It was a lot of long days and long nights, um, just making sure that I had everything put in place so that everything could run efficiently and be effective, and that we were having successful seasons, and that our girls were getting all of the opportunities that they could get, and I was getting and making sure that I was still being able to advance in my own career, as well, with applying for my registered athletic administration license and taking my LTI courses, and making sure that I was also doing things for my own career, not just trying to piece all of the pieces of the puzzle together, basically.
Right. No, and I'm so glad you mentioned that. We have a lot of listeners, and some of them are just beginning that journey. Some are even, undergraduate students that are still taking, that coursework. And I think it's important for them to hear about, the different paths, the different journeys, and some of the steps that are involved. So thanks for sharing that. We're going to go ahead and take another break, but we're coming back. Once again, our guest today is Sierra Millar. She's the director of athletics at Mercy McAuley High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. So please stay with us. We're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. It's also a very cool way to share your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Another one of our great sponsors mentioned the podcast, and they will give you a nice discount too. Vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. We'd like to say thanks to Home Campus for their support. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, rosters, scores, communication. How about athletic eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus does all of these things and a lot more, does them better, and it does them faster than other platforms. To get started, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We also want to thank the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. This is an affordable 20-month, completely online program that also allows you to complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses, all for one low cost. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, and it was a tremendous experience. To find out more, just go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Sierra, in the last segment, you mentioned that you started taking the LTI courses, you got your RAA, and that's another aspect that I think it's important for our younger listeners that are new to the profession to hear about. So share a little bit. How did you first find out about even your state association? Because I know the Ohio Association is very, very well developed.
Mhm.
And then how'd you get involved with the NIAAA and get your RAA?
Um, so I actually started with the IHSA. So because I was located in Illinois, I started with them and started with their state associations. When I was at St. Joseph, I did a teaching conference because even though we were in Kenosha, Wisconsin, the teaching conference was still in Illinois. So we did a teaching conference in Illinois, and kind of that following year, as I stepped into more of that AD position with Woodlands, I promoted or well, I requested sending me to the NIAAA conference. And so with that, with going before I went to the NIAAA conference, I did my LTI courses online, applied for my RAA, and kind of set myself up to kind of, like we said, you don't know what you don't know. So when I went to the conference, I kept everything as an open mind and tried to take everything in that I possibly could. At that point, I was 2022, I think, and it was a conference down in Nashville. So, and it was a great conference, and I learned a lot, and I met a lot of individuals kind of from all over the place. And then last year kind of fell off a little bit. Well, one with me being pregnant, and then all of our exciting personal things that happened in my life. But this next year, the goal is to apply for my CAA, take the test, go to the NIAAA conference down in Texas, which super excited for. Um, and kind of just keep growing. My goals kind of for this year are to set myself up to be more involved in both our state association and our national association. I think being still young in the career, I have plenty of time to do so, but setting myself up early for that success and that involvement, I think is super important.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And that is a great plan. And I'm going to challenge you. You are going to Austin. I'm going to see you down there. Okay.
Yes.
Um, and again, for our listeners, Sierra shared her journey, and that's what it is. It is a journey. For even old guys like me, it's never over. You can continue to keep on learning. Um, every state has a certification coordinator and they have an LTI coordinator to help you put together your plan. And if for some reason you can't, connect with your state coordinator, feel free to reach out to me. I was on the National Certification Committee for many years. I still help people, prepare for their CAA, help them with their CMAA. So, keep on learning, do what Sierra is doing.
Perfect.
Sierra, going back to those courses that you took to complete your RAA, as you were taking those, as you were sitting in the classroom, or maybe they were online,
Mhm.
anything jump out at you like, boy, this is really cool. I got to bring it back to my school. Or sometimes it's the other. Oh my goodness, we're not doing this. I need to bring this back to my school. Anything like that happened for you?
Yeah, I think all of the courses that I took, I pulled something from, and um, especially at Woodlands, like I told you, I got the opportunity to kind of build it how I wanted to build it, and I implemented a lot of things before I left. I implemented a lot of things that for the person following me, it would be organized, and they would have things that were set up that would also set them up for success for it to keep growing. Um, and things that I really pulled that I loved was our coaches' evaluations and all of kind of the example documents that they had in there. I pulled and modified what would be best for our school, and those are kind of the things that I grasped onto of okay, well, what policies should I set? Like, oh, like this is important. We need to add this into there, and I there were a lot of things that I pulled and I kind of just tried to take it all in, and it's a lot of information. But I took it all in, and I was like, what can I do with this? Because I can apply this in some way in some part of the department, and just to make it better, just to keep it growing. And I think that's the important part of those courses. It's why we take those courses. So
No, absolutely. Great point. You find that one thing and sometimes it finds you and you go,
yeah.
yes, this is what's going to work at our school.
Mhm.
Um, we're jumping way ahead here, but I'm going to challenge you here. I'm putting you on the spot. You're going to take those courses. You're going to get that CAA, and then
Mhm.
hey, what's the next step? Your CMAA project. Have you thought at all about what you might want to do for your
Not at all.
CMAA project?
Not
Okay.
at all. One step at a time right now. Like I said, a lot of personal changes happened in my life, so now
Yeah.
we're kind of jumping back into it. So haven't
Well,
really thought much about it, but I know it's coming. It's in the rearview mirror.
well, let me make it easy for you and for anybody else listening. I guarantee that you and any listener, you're already doing something at your school. Maybe it's with students or coaches or parents or facilities. You're already doing something that would make a great CMA project. You don't have to, dream up this wild, inventive thing. You're already doing something that has spoken to you. And again, that's why you're already doing it. So, again, reach out to your state coordinator. Feel free to reach out to me, when you're ready, you and our listeners, for that CMA project. Okay. We're going to do this at the end of the program, but let's do it now. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out to you and pick your brain a little bit, or just add you to their network, and building your network is one of the most important things an AD can do. What's the best way our listeners can get a hold of Sierra Millar?
Definitely through LinkedIn. I've been checking in more and more every day, just with all the different things coming through. Definitely through LinkedIn. They can find me through LinkedIn, or they can reach out to me directly through my email as well. I'm on as athletic directors. We're on it all the time,
Yep.
and we get a million emails a day. But they can reach out to me at my email, millars@mercymccauley.org.
Okay.
So,
And again, we'll give that information out at the end of the program. And I'm going to
perfect.
guess, as an NIAAA member, our NIAAA listeners can find it on the NIAAA membership
Yep.
portal as well.
Yep.
Let's let's take another break, but we're coming back with even more from Sierra Millar. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Of course, we use it for home games, but we also used it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? No more. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with tremendous success. Our coaches loved it, our parents loved it because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. We also want to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more, but I'm going to. Go to hometownticketing.com. Their team is going to show you how to set up and sell tickets online, not just for athletic events, but for things like school plays, concerts, school dances, even graduation. And here's the best part: every school gets assigned a dedicated client success manager that's going to help you every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. It's digital ticketing that offers more. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Sierra, you and I were talking during the break. You just finished your first year as the athletic director at Mercy McAuley. And I think it's a best practice, that first year to come in and observe and get to know people. While at the same time, you're looking at everything with fresh eyes. So,
Mhm.
1 year into your tenure, what did you see, and where do you see the program going?
A lot of great things. A lot of great things happened within this first year. I mean, we had multiple state contenders and our volleyball team winning the first state championship title for our school. I mean, we had a lot of really, really exciting things go on, but I did do a lot of sitting back and kind of observing and seeing, okay, how can we make this better? How can we grow? And I think the biggest thing is, especially that I'm implementing this coming year, is I'm promoting more professional development within our coaches. We have amazing coaches here, coaches that have been with us for a very long time, since before the schools kind of became one. So it was Mercy, and then it was McAuley. And in 2018, the schools became one within the Mercy education system. And with that came coaches, went coaches. But we have a really, really strong alumni. We have a really, really strong community. We have a whole lot of support, like everywhere. We have alumni from both schools coaching still in our programs. So a lot of really, really, really great things. But I think there are, going into this next year, going into year two, there are things that we can make stronger. And I think professional development and allowing in kind of providing some professional development for for the coaching staff was one that I really wanted to focus on. So our goal this year, our focus this year is the mental health for student athletes, for teams. So we have the Coach Beyond program from OSU coming down actually next week, and putting on a mental health professional development series for my coaching staff, which all coaches are required to come to. So including myself, our principal is going to be there, our president's going to be there. We have some of our counselors in house that are gonna come and stop by. So that's kind of the base of like where the initial change and momentum starts on, and where how and where we can grow the most.
Boy, that's very cool, and it's great that your administration is supporting that professional
Mm-hmm.
development. I say this all the time. It's something that athletic directors want to do, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they don't get a chance to do it, because they're so busy with everything else, and
Yep.
they don't have that support from above. Um, you mentioned, Mercy and McAuley, the schools coming together. I was at a school once that had been a merger years and years, generations ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there were still some old timers from each group that, we never should have merged, that sort of thing. Do you have any of that at Mercy McAuley, or is it a happy marriage? I'm sure it is for everybody, but do you have those outliers out there that you have to sometimes talk off the ledge?
I think that happens with a lot of places that merge, and I think that's the initial thought process. But we're going into year seven of combining and being together, and honestly, I see more support every single year. Our theme as a whole this year is to be known, and how we can grab hold of the community a little bit more, and find more of that support and bringing more of those positive energies in, and just really promote the really great things that we have going on at the school, not only just in athletics, but also within our academics and other extracurriculars. And so I really do see a lot more of that positive than probably what was initially the initial reactions were.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's just human nature. So, yeah, again, I think they had been merged for close to 40 years. And there were still, a couple, not a lot, but a couple of those old timers. Um, you mentioned that your volleyball team, won a state championship. And
Yeah.
this is congratulations, by the way. Great leadership on your part making that happen. Uh,
Thank you. Coming right into it.
um, it's been a theme here on a number of interviews recently, and maybe it's just the time of year school is wrapping up, but celebrating these great accomplishments, whether it's a state championship or just celebrating, your year in sports, the kids, the coaches, etc. So again, I'm putting you on the spot here again. What did you do at Mercy McAuley to celebrate your first ever state championship?
Celebrations lasted the entire year here. It was talk of everywhere. My coaches really grabbed hold of pretty much any opportunity that they could to just promote the fact that we did something great. We did something awesome that not a lot of schools can say that they do. And the fact that it was the first team title, and we've had individual state championships too in the past. So, and we've sent many state qualifiers to those postseason tournaments. But this was the first team to win a state championship for us, and so many great things came about it. So immediately we had a bunch of donors pretty much pay for our student tickets to send a whole bunch of our students up to the state tournament. We had donors pay for buses, which was awesome. And like I've said, that building that community support and that support of the community, I see it more and more every single day. So we sent everybody up there for the state tournament. But then once we won, it was amazing. It was like you could just feel it with everybody. You could feel it with alumni, you could feel it with the girls, you could feel it with the coaching staff, the entire school. You could just feel it. So we kind of really grabbed hold of that and did everything that we could to just put it out there and make sure that our girls knew that all of their hard work was being recognized. And so I know my coaches went on a podcast. I know the girls did a bunch of the seniors did a whole bunch of interviews with a bunch of news outlets. We did kind of a celebration ceremony the day after, and we brought the whole team back into the school, and we opened our doors for the community to all come in. And myself, the head coach, our principal, and our president all gave speeches. News came in to record the celebration. It was a big deal here for us. So that was just the kickoff of what we did afterwards.
Yeah.
But the aftermath it kept going, and it was awesome.
No, and I dare say that's what we would call a best practice, that the celebration continued the entire year. Great, great stuff. Sierra, this has been cool. Finally, getting our interview going with you. It's been on the books for a while, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, this is, you just completed your first year at Mercy McAuley, but this is not your first year as an athletic director. So we're going to take our final break here from Athletic Surveys. When we come back, I'm going to ask you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. So let's hear from Athletic Surveys. And when we return, we're going to see what Sierra Millar puts into her new athletic director toolbox. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We really want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that only wants to complain. Athletic Surveys is going to connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And that information is incredibly valuable, especially when you're talking with a frustrated parent or student athlete, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Sierra Millar. She's a registered athletic administrator and the director of athletics at Mercy McAuley High School in Cincinnati. Has a very strong athletic background, but right now I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new athletic director on the very first job, but I'm only going to let her put 3 things in the toolbox. So Sierra, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
The first one is definitely to take advantage of your NIAAA conference and your state association and those LTI courses. Take advantage of them because they're gonna be the base that guides a new athletic director to where they want to be and how they want to run things. Um, the next one is kind of mixed in with the last two are kind of mixed together. Um, the next one is kind of find your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you in the position that you're in? What about the position makes you want to come back every single day and do it all over again? Um, and then the last one is kind of to find your balance. I did it myself as a young athletic director, still a young athletic director in the field of finding that balance between work and life because nights get long, days get long, and we definitely we want to see our progress, but we definitely see a lot of burnout happen early on, and I think finding that why and finding the balance between the two is really important, especially early on.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that, and you're absolutely right. I've shared this story many times. My wife was a career coach, a Hall of Fame coach, and so we were both at school at the same time. Our kids were in sports, but still, there were too many times, where I was still the AD or I was still the football coach instead of being a dad or instead of being a husband. So again, find that balance. And, great shout out for the NIAAA and the state
Yeah.
association too. Okay. Sierra, thanks again for coming on. Great interview. Loved listening to your take on things. If one of our listeners wants to connect with you like I did, okay, what's the best way they can get a hold of Sierra Millar?
They can definitely find me on LinkedIn. Definitely find me on LinkedIn. Shoot me a message. I'm checking it every single day, so shoot me a message on LinkedIn, and then they can email me directly too through my school email. I'm on that every day as well, so they can email me at Millar Millars at mercymacaulay.org.
Well, once again, thanks for coming on the podcast. All the best with year 2 at Mercy McAuley. And yeah, I want to see you making those plans to attend the NIAAA conference in Austin this year.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
All right. For our listeners, we want to see you in Austin, and we also want to say thanks for tuning in and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day, sharing stories and best practices. So we hope you come back and join us for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.